Welcome to Real Talk Fantasy Baseball. I'm your host, Will Power, joined by John Murrow. Big shout out to Ernie and John for holding it down while I was on vacation last week. I appreciate you guys. Thank you, John. And Ernie, if you're listening, thank you very much.
Blast.
Appreciate you guys. Ernie did a great job hosting. I'd love to have him back on the show when I'm actually on the show too. He knows his stuff, man. He's in first place in our league. He's in first place in our ESPN league as well. I believe. I think in Yahoo he's only had like 2 losses, and then ESPN I think it's about the same, like 1 or 2 losses. So, dude knows his stuff, man.
Can agree.
All right,
and great Sunday night show too.
Yeah, it was fun to listen to you guys. I tried as much as I could to be at least in the chat, but I was in Mexico and the connection wasn't the greatest. So, but I did watch the final episode, or like after it was all done when I got back home, and yeah, he did a good job. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, of course. You know what's going to be pretty sick?
What's that?
This episode. Let's roll, baby.
Yeah, I kind of figured you were going to be excited about this one, man. So today on the show, we are talking prospects, in particular, prospects that could make an impact this season, coming up on Real Talk Fantasy Baseball. All right, get that little banner going right now. All right, so welcome back, everybody. If you haven't already, make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel. You can also scan that QR code right above John's head in the top right corner. It will take you to all of our social media accounts, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts, where you can listen to the audio version of this podcast. On today's show, we have potential September call-ups that could impact your team. We saw guys like Jason Dominguez, Evan Carter, and Ronnie Mauricio have impressive debuts around this time last year, but we also saw a lot of September call-ups that were not very impressive. Heston Kierstad, Junior Caminero, Jordan Lawler, just to name a few. It's just kind of hit and miss. You know, Jackson Holiday, for example, made his initial call-up earlier this season, had just 2 hits and 36 plate appearances, got sent back down to the minors, built up his confidence, worked on some things, and got called up again in July. Since then, Holiday has batted .250 with a .927 OPS, 5 home runs, and 48 plate appearances. Timing is everything, man. And there are 15 prospects that MLB.com has projected to get a call-up this season. That's a lot of names, and more than half of them are probably not going to pan out, but hopefully we can kind of help you choose the diamonds in the rough and help you win your league. Starting with middle infield, we have 7 names. Shortstop from the Red Sox, Marcelo Meyer. Shortstop from the A's, Jacob Wilson. Second base and shortstop from the Rockies, Adael Amador. Shortstop from the Diamondbacks, Jordan Lawler. Shortstop from the Twins, Brooks Lee. Shortstop from the White Sox, Colson Montgomery. And second baseman from the Marlins, Connor Norby. So starting with the shortstop from the Red Sox, Marcelo Meyer. You want to go ahead and take this first one, and then I'll start on the next one.
Yeah, let's do it. Marcelo Meyer is a guy the Red Sox kind of fell into their lap in the 2021 MLB draft. Career .274 hitter in the minors. He's hit .307 with 8 homers and 38 RBIs and 13 stolen bases this year in the minors. And he just got the call up to AAA. So he's a candidate for a call up. I don't know that he's considered a prime candidate. They've been very protective with Marcelo Meyer. He is just 21 years old. His time is coming. I don't know that he's ever going to be a superstar shortstop. I think he can be a really nice player. I'm not going to give you Gunnar Henderson or Bobby Witt expectations on this guy, but I do expect him to be a good addition if he gets the call up, but he's not going to be a guy that's probably going to win you a league or anything like that. Maybe a guy, a bench guy here and there, or your shortstop's just not doing it for you. This guy gets a call up and you want to take a chance, great. But I say be a little bit conservative if he gets the call up, and I don't know that he is going to.
Yeah, I agree with that one, man. Marcelo Meyer, he really hasn't really caught my attention too high. So double A is the highest level he's played at so far. You mentioned that he did get the call up to triple A, but he hasn't played a game yet. And I'm wondering why, because he's been there for almost a week now. But honestly, in double A, he hasn't been very impressive. 307 batting average, 850 OPS, 8 home runs, 13 stolen bases in 77 games this season. Now, I said he hasn't been that impressive, but the reason why I say that is because these are double A numbers. And in double A, if you're not hitting 350 or higher, you're kind of struggling a little bit. You're facing guys that either just got drafted out of high school, or these younger competition that don't really have like good stuff yet to be in the major leagues. And if you are ready to be in the major leagues, then you better be smashing the ball in double A. So I kind of see his 307 batting average in double A. It translates to about 250 in the big leagues. Maybe even a little bit lower than that. Maybe I'm shooting too high, but I'm not too high on Meyer, man. His defense seems to outweigh his offense, which obviously doesn't matter in fantasy. So I'm going to say, let's let him be someone else's problem, All right, so moving on to shortstop from the A's, Jacob Wilson. And dude, I know I'm pretty big on this guy. I actually had him in two of my keeper leagues, and I ended up having to drop him because he got hurt in his major league debut. He's had his first hit, and rounding third on his way home to score, and he just pulls something in his leg, had a hamstring injury. And that kind of sucks, man. But you know what, though? Them's the breaks. So like I said, he had one at bat in the majors so far, which was his 75-mile-per-hour single to center field back on July 19th. Good debut, but as I said, he was rounding third, about to score, came in hobbling, hamstring strain, has kept him sidelined for the past month. Reports say that he seems to be fully healthy and healed and on his way to AAA. So I'm assuming that we will most definitely see Wilson back up in the big leagues soon, as this is the guy you want to target. In 19 games in AAA so far, Wilson has produced a 398 batting average, a 1,083 OPS, 4 home runs, 7 walks to 3 strikeouts. And before his cup of coffee in AAA, Wilson batted 455 with an 1178 OPS, 3 home runs, and 2 stolen bases in 22 games in AA. Now, this is what I'm talking about, man. This seems like the type of guy that he's going to be close to 300. I'm assuming in the major leagues, with the 455 batting average in AA and the 1,083 OPS in AAA. That's incredible, dude. 401 career batting average in the minors, 1,058 career OPS. Had a 4.4 strikeout rate in college. This guy is the real deal, man. If there is any middle infielder I am targeting, this is the guy. I mentioned I had him in 2 of my keeper leagues, and I dropped him because he was he got downgraded to the IL, and they can't move him back to the minor leagues before they put him on the IL. So I didn't have an IL spot. I had way too many injuries, so I dropped him, and guess which bastard picked him up? The the guy on the other side of this camera over here, Mr. John Murrow, of course, because he knows prospects just like I know prospects, man. And you know that Jacob Wilson's going to be a beast, man. Anything you want to add to what I just said about this incredible player?
Yeah, I think Jacob Wilson is going to be a perennial all-star. I think he's going to be a top, 5 shortstop in baseball, not just the American League. I think he's going to be in the conversation with Gunnar Henderson, Bobby Witt, those kind of guys, and he has that kind of potential. I think if he continues to get his power numbers up, we should be looking at, like you said, a perennial 300 hitter, 20 to 25 homers, if not, right around that range. And you give 80 RBIs in the mix there on a team that really needs a guy. So I love Jacob Wilson. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to be around for a long, long time. So the contact numbers are there. He's hitting 400 in the minors. There's really no reason. It's not when this guy called. It's not if, it's when he's going to be back in Oakland. So I would add this guy. And if you can sit on him for a little bit too, keep him on your IL. If you have a spot, I would do it sooner than later.
I love that you said a top 5 shortstop in the league because I actually wrote that in my notes also. He will be a top 5 shortstop in the league. You know, everyone talks about Jackson Holiday, who's great. You know, he's going to have a great future, but don't sleep on Jacob Wilson, fam. Like, dude's a beast. Real
There's a
talk.
lot of good shortstops in baseball that are either here or coming. And I know we talked about Zach Neto last week on the pod. I mean, there's some, just especially in the AL alone, there's some really great names and more to come. So
Yeah, and it kind of sucks. I mean, going into 2024, it kind of sucks because there were a lot of shortstops that either wound up injured, like Matt McClain. You know, he was a big one that was coming into the season, and Carlos Correa that just keeps on nursing that plantar fasciitis. Corey Seager is known for having a lot of injury history. You know, there's Xander Bogaerts who had shortstop eligibility that was out for a little while. So it's good to see all these younger prospects coming up. We have a lot of middle infielders, a lot of shortstops coming up within the next couple weeks or so, and we'll see if they're going to be the ones that are going to be, you know, a fixture in the lineups. I think on a team like the A's, I really don't see anyone standing in Jacob Wilson's way. So that's a big name that you can count on that's going to be in the lineup every day as long as he can stay healthy, which, you know, the hamstring thing, once you tear your hamstring, it's easy to tear it again or easier to tear it again. But, you know, as long as they know what the problem is, I feel like they can, you know, figure out ways to try to keep him healthy.
he's only 22 years old. He can grow another hamstring.
Yeah. All right. Second base shortstop from the Rockies, Adael Amador, another middle infielder that hasn't played at the AAA level. What do you think about Amador?
Amador, so he was called up back in June. 21-year-old second baseman for the Rockies organization. Didn't go too well. I actually picked him up because in fantasy, sometimes you just got to ride the hot hand, you know, no matter what level it is, and just see what happens when they get to the next level or next week in Major League Baseball, what have you. But I mean, he looked very overmatched when he was played for the Rockies back in June. In 35 at bats, he hit 171, no homers, no RBI. They sent him back down on the year in Double-A. And what's interesting is they called him directly up from Double-A and then sent him right back to Double-A. So he hasn't sniffed Triple-A, which is interesting. But on the year, actually, for Double-A, he's hitting 218, 11 homers, and 39 RBI. So he's going to have to cut down a lot on his strikeouts. He's going to have to put the ball in play a lot more. And I don't trust this guy yet. I know the Rockies might give him another shot just because they literally have nothing else. But coming in the past couple of years, you know, the 218 is a little scary when you see that on the surface for the season, because the past 3 years for the season, he hit 299, 292, 287, and then this year 218. So not heading in the right direction, not a guy that I'm going to rely on if he does get the call up. Maybe if he, you know, puts a little streak together in the majors and proves it for a little bit, and you can think about this guy. But even so, if he gets the call up, you're probably not going to want to add him, and he's definitely not going to be in your starting lineup.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one. He's been very unimpressive, and even at the Double-A level, man, like you said, only batting 214, like that's that just makes me not even want to pay attention to him at all. But he does play in Colorado, you know, and playing in Colorado, half your games in Colorado, the OPS is going to shoot up just a little bit. You know, we saw guys like Arenado that moved to a different team that is still really good, but he's not Colorado Arenado good. You know, DJ LeMahieu won the batting title when he was in Colorado, and then he moves over to the Yankees, and he had that really good first season, and then he's kind of just like drawn back a little bit since then. So Colorado is where players go to have the ball thrive.
There's one who has not.
Chris Bryant.
Chris Bryant, man, take him behind the shed. Oh God, he's so bad.
He is so bad, and he just can't stay healthy, man. Chris Bryant, what did he have? Like he played like 40 games this year. You know, and what were the Rockies thinking signing this guy? Because he's a former MVP. So what, man? It's like he had one really, really good season, a few other like solid seasons, but then other than that, he's just been getting hurt every single year, man. It's like there are some teams that don't care about injury history. They just want the name. They want to put butts in the seats, and it appears like the Rockies are like one of those teams, dude. A lot of
Yeah,
pitchers don't want to pitch in Colorado. They have a hard time signing pitchers, so it seems like they're trying to go after guys that have maybe had some good, history and are relatively cheap because other teams are like, well, this guy has injury history, so I'm not going to give him a lot of money. I'm sure he had other offers from other teams, but the Rockies were like, well, we'll give him a little bit more and hopefully it works out for us. It did not. Chris Bryant, I think his career is almost at an end, man.
So, fun fact, he did, of course, in 2022 sign that 7-year, $182 million contract. In his first 3 seasons in Colorado, he's hit a total of 17 homers and he's made 84 million. So, some quick math here while we're just having some fun. 84 million over 17 homers is just shy of $5 million per home run. I don't think that's good value, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, Colorado isn't for everyone, man. And honestly, I think if he stayed healthy, he would play great in Colorado. He has a pretty decent swing for that. He puts the ball in the air a lot. It's just when you can't stay on the field, when you're only playing 30 to 45 games a season, like how productive really can you be? And even if you're playing in Colorado, it still takes a little while to kind of like get your mojo going, get your timing down, and be the player that you can be, the potential that you have. But if you don't have enough time to do that, you're just wasting away. Kind of like our friend Mike Trout over there in Anaheim.
I promise you he's going to be in a Phillies uniform one day.
That's okay. You
You.
guys can have him. Go ahead and take his $500,000 contract, or no, $500 million contract. Sorry.
I mean, we might only pay him $500,000 if they actually pay his contract like they did Arenado. But all right, next prospect. Who we going with?
It's possible. All right, so next prospect, shortstop from the Diamondbacks, Jordan Lawler. Had his cup of coffee in the majors last season. He obviously wasn't ready, though. In 14 games in the majors, Lawler batted 129 with a 335 OPS, no extra base hits. Out of his 20 batted balls, the hardest hit ball was 99 miles per hour, while he had an average exit velocity of 77.8 miles per hour. So not very impressive. He's currently on the injured list with a hamstring strain. Say that 5 times fast. That kept him sidelined since June. Played a couple games in July, but re-aggravated the injury and forced him to be sidelined for another 6 to 8 weeks. I highly doubt we'll see Lawler in the majors this season unless the Diamondbacks, somehow make it into the playoffs again. I know the Diamondbacks are like on this crazy hot streak right now, but I still don't see them surpassing the Padres or the Dodgers. Maybe they'll be lucky and get that like third wild card spot, because the National League East just kind of like fell apart. It's like the only team that's actually worth anything is the Phillies, but the Braves fell off. The Mets are kind of in there, but you can't really trust the Mets.
Phillies suck right now too, for what it's worth.
Yeah, but the good thing is everyone in the division sucks right now. So I think you guys will be okay. And I hear it all the time, man. I work with a bunch of Phillies fans, and they're always asking me because they know that I'm the baseball guy. So when do you think they're going to break out of the slump? And I'm like, I keep on telling them, like, look, when Bryce Harper breaks out of his slump, the rest of the team is going to break out of the slump also, because that's the leader in the clubhouse, and hitting is contagious. So Bryce Harper just needs to focus and get back on track. And once he does that, the veteran's going to come out in him, and he's going to be great pretty soon.
I love a good Phillies tangent. I can talk Phillies obviously all day, every day. Trey Turner's been a big issue for them too.
Yeah, I think Trey Turner gets in his head too much, and when he messes up a play on defense, it's just that's all he can kind of think about. But he's not a very good defensive player, and that's not why the Phillies signed him anyway. They signed him because he has a career 300 batting average and he can steal 50 bases in the season, with 20 home runs, 20 to 25 home runs. So I think he needs to stop focusing on what he's done, like on like the negative, and just focus on the positive. And I think he'll be fine, but he does seem to be like a very emotional guy. And that's another thing. It's like he didn't really get going until Harper came back, and Harper was hitting, when was that last season, right?
Yeah, we gave Trey the standing ovation, which got him going a little bit. Philly would do it again, a sarcastic standing ovation, I promise. So if this continues, we'll see.
It'll happen. It'll
A
happen.
guy that I actually do see making a big difference, unlike you. So I'm happy to argue this with you. Is Jordan Lawler for the Diamondbacks? Going back to him, I do think he's going to get called up. I do think they're going to find a way to get him in the lineup. Top prospect. He's only 20 years old. I thought this guy was like 22.
Yeah,
And I
I've
know
been
that
hearing the
film
name
is like
for
a huge
so
difference.
long, dude. You know, it's like I've heard the name for like years now. It kind of feels like, but
Yeah.
maybe I was just hearing things when he was 17 years old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so an interesting little tidbit I saw, they've been putting him in at third base in AAA. So they're trying to get this guy in the lineup. Geraldo Perdomo right now is their third baseman. So I think if he comes back healthy, if he shows any kind of life, they're going to get him in the lineup. So he's got a 327 batting average in AAA this year, only 48 at bats. Someone I would certainly keep an eye on because I do think the Diamondbacks are going to make some noise here in the end of August and September and find themselves in a playoff spot.
Possibly. I just think that the injury. So he played back in June, and then actually, I'm sorry, he got hurt in June, came back in July, and then he got hurt again, and then he was out for 2 months. So I don't know. I think the Diamondbacks know what they have for the future, and I don't really think that they're gonna like risk it too much, unless they definitely make the playoffs. So if they're not making the playoffs, I wouldn't count on Jordan Lawler being back in the majors, maybe for a couple weeks or so. But I don't know. I feel like they're gonna be careful with this guy. Like you said, he's 20 years old. He could just be very resilient and just come back and be a great player like he has been in AAA. I'd say definitely keep your eyes open, but I'm saying keep your eyes open for 2025. This is the guy that I'm going to be targeting in drafts for next season. Not really looking to add him off the waiver wire for this season. But if he does get called up, like you're saying he might, I would definitely be trying to add him basically everywhere, especially categories leagues, because he is a stolen base specialist.
Yep. Nice
All
job.
right, so shortstop from the Twins, Brooks Lee. He's been in the majors since July 3rd, and he's basically been an everyday player until last week when he injured his shoulder. Should be coming off the IL soon, but it's kind of a logjam because once Carlos Correa comes back from his IL stint, then has Brooks Lee done enough to keep his roster spot? I'm sure you have the numbers. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he does. 99 at bats this year. He's hit 253, 2 homers, 15 RBI. He's a nice player. He's not ever going to be a superstar. He could be a nice player, get you some pop. If he flirts with 275, I'm happy with that batting average. And, he's been good. In AAA before he got the call up, actually, he was hitting 350 with 7 homers and 26 RBI and 123 at bats in AAA. So he can hit. And I think if we kind of factor in that 350 batting average in AAA, seeing the 253 now is more realistic. And I think he's still getting adjusted. So there's some room for growth there. I think he's done enough to keep at least his roster spot. Is he going to be a starter? But he'll be around.
So he
Especially
does
how
have,
often those Twins players get injured.
the Twins players get injured very often. Isn't Byron Buxton, isn't he back on the IL too, or at least day to day right now? I don't know. That guy's always on the
day to day since he came up to baseball.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. So Brooks Lee, he has very good plate discipline, so that is a huge aspect that might keep him in the lineup. But outside of points leagues, he doesn't have a lot of pop. He doesn't have a lot of speed. So in categories leagues, I'm not really looking to roster him anywhere. If I have a middle infield spot in my points league, I'm probably looking at him, if there's nothing else available out there. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much all I got on Brooks Lee.
He's a replacement if you need it. You're probably not adding him. Let's say you have like a Ezekiel Tovar. Maybe you could add Brooks Lee and just kind of go back and forth between the two. But if you have like an Ellie De La Cruz, Corey Seager, if you're good at shortstop, you're not adding Brooks Lee.
Yeah, I like what you said. He's a replacement if you need it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so shortstop from the White Sox, Colson Montgomery. What you got?
I don't know why the White Sox like this guy so much. I really don't. He's their number 2 overall prospects. His numbers honestly kind of suck. I'll tell it as it is. Even if he does get called up in September, let's call it, he's still a White Sox. So he's 22 years old. He's getting a little bit long in the tooth. He's a career 255 hitter in the minors. This year he's hitting in AAA. He's hitting 207 with 13 homers, 46 RBI, 329 OBP. So, I mean, truthfully, I don't get all the hype on this guy. We haven't seen anything from him. And to hit 207 in AAA and expect this guy to just get magically called up to Major League Baseball and contribute to either the actual White Sox or your fantasy team is just wishful thinking. There's no way.
Yeah, I gotta say, man, out of this whole group, I think Colson Montgomery is probably my least favorite. Very unimpressive numbers. He finally got the call to AAA this season after being drafted in 2021. A whole 3 years later. Took you 3 years to get to AAA. I don't know, man. I see that as a kind of a red flag right there. I think he has 20 homer, maybe 15 stolen base potential, but he's not a good source of batting average. Strikes out a ton. I'm gonna say no thanks. The only thing that makes this guy less desirable, and you kind of mentioned it earlier, is his team context. He's on the White Sox, and White Sox are literally the worst team in baseball right now. And I actually wanted to ask you if you saw the video of Miguel Vargas, who got traded from the Dodgers to the White Sox.
Dude, that was so sad.
I actually got it right here. Check this out. Look how sad this man is, man. It's like
got traded to the South Side, and you were about to hit a Chicago winter. You were on the Dodgers in LA. He's still getting a ring if the Dodgers win it this year, which not happening. But yeah, dude, now you're on the White Sox. Everyone's miserable. I'd have the same reaction. Sorry, Miguel.
It sucks. I mean, silver lining, at least for him, is he gets to play every day. On the Dodgers, he was like a spot starter. He would come in to pinch hit. He was not even a full platoon player. He would be there to give the guys a day off. And the good thing is he plays infield and outfield, so he could go in for who's been playing third lately, like Kike or like no one really. they just keep on like rotating. So it was kind of a nice spot for him to play once in a while, but he's more of like an outfielder now. I think they used him more in like left field. But yeah, I mean, at least he gets to play every day.
I think it's a precautionary tale because, again, even a couple years ago, Miguel Vargas was the guy who was going to come in, be the Dodgers' first baseman for the future, and he was hitting 300 in the minors, and we would have been talking about him now, saying, hey, this is a guy who can get called up. So prospects are suspects until proven otherwise. So let's take all of this halfway point here. Everything here, take with a grain of salt. Prospects are suspects, but they can be pretty awesome too, and they can win you a championship.
Yeah, you know what? Ronald Acuna was a prospect once upon a time. Juan Soto, Mookie Betts, every superstar in Major League Baseball was a prospect at one time. And you know what? Sometimes they don't even pan out in their first stint in the majors. It takes them a while, but once they get it, they got it. And those are where the superstars are born. And the good thing is about some guys like Mookie Betts that started with the Red Sox is he had guys like Dustin Pedroia and Jackie Bradley Jr. and all these guys that were veterans already that kind of like could give him advice and mold him into the player that he was going to be. And there's so many other superstars like Ronald Acuna that had Freddie Freeman and I can't even think who else was on the Braves at the time when he came up, but it's like those are the type of teams that you want to be on as a rookie because you're learning, you're absorbing so much from these veterans. And then for guys like Miguel Vargas to go to the White Sox or some of these players, some of these prospects that are coming up that are just on weak teams, it kind of sucks for them because they don't really get the guidance that they could really, really use. That's kind of what I would think about the Mariners also, like Julio Rodriguez. Like, how much would Julio Rodriguez benefit from having a real vet in the clubhouse? Like, I don't really think they have anybody,
Randy.
Now, I mean, kind of, but Randy hasn't been there for very long. He just got there.
To be fair, they have Ichiro in the dugout every day.
Do they? Is he still there every day?
Mhm. He
I
still takes
wonder,
batting practice every day, I
does he
think.
speak English? Like, I don't know if there's like a language thing
What
there.
does Ichiro do? Come on. Of course.
True story.
Dude throws 90 miles an hour still.
Yep, I saw him. I saw him do some crazy stuff, man. He actually had three baseball bats set up on home plate. I'm sure you saw this. He gets three baseballs and throws each one at the knob of the bat and knocks all three of them over with three throws. That's incredible, dude. I wish they would kind of introduce something like that into the All-Star break. You know, not just the home run derby and not just the All-Star game, but to kind of have like, because how many people can hit in the home run derby and actually win it, and there's not a lot, but there's a lot of other guys that are very talented that could do some other stuff, you
If
know.
they made it cool, I can see it maybe. But even so, like I think about, when I watch the NBA All Star break and when they do the skills challenge and stuff, I'm like, all right, screw it. I'm just going to wait for the dunk contest and the All Star game, which is the same as, you know, the the home run derby and the All Star game equivalent. So would people watch it? Eh. But if they made it cool,
Yeah, if they did it cool, which actually I've seen like the Japan version, like the Nippon Japanese league, that how they have their like little games and stuff that they do, and they make it cool. I like it. I
the
watch the
bunting
highlights.
contest.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, where you're trying to bunt it into like a certain circle, or even like a pepper contest where you're just trying to like make it into like a certain area, or just play over the line,
Mhm.
where you have to get it over like a certain line but not past the line. I think it'd be pretty fun,
I
especially
could
for
do
the young the smaller guys that are in Major League Baseball, because not everyone can hit 60 home runs like Aaron Judge and Pete Alonso.
Yeah.
All right, back to middle infield. Second baseman from the Marlins, new second baseman from the Marlins, Connor Norby, who was dealt from the Orioles a few weeks ago. Norby was called up by the Orioles in early June and had a very unimpressive debut. In 9 games, Norby batted 188 with 3 extra base hits, 12 strikeouts, and 0 walks. Out of his 20 batted balls, Norby had an average exit velocity of an underwhelming 86.4 miles per hour. Hardest hit batted ball was 104.8 miles per hour. Doesn't swing hard at all. And with the newest StatCast category, bat speed, Norby doesn't excel at that either. There could be some sneaky pop in his game, as he had 17 home runs through 90 games in the minors this season, 21 home runs in 138 games in 2023. He's ranked 68th percentile in sprint speed, stole 13 bases this season, 10 in 2023, and 16 in 2022. Seems to be a very mid-tier talent. So just another middle infield prospect that I'm just kind of like not too excited about. John, thoughts?
I'm a little more excited than you are about Connor Norby, but I'm going to kind of categorize him with Brooks Lee, if you will, in that same. All right, if this guy does get the call up, maybe you add him and just keep him on your bench if you needed a bench bat. Probably not going in your starting lineup, but this guy could do some things. I mean, he's 24 years old. I was surprised when the Orioles traded him for Trevor Rogers in that trade. So I thought that was a pretty big overpay.
Oh yeah.
But he is 24 years old. He's hit in his last 8 games. He's batting 292 on the season with 17 homers, 60 RBI, 13 stolen bases. But over his last 15 games, he's batting 188. So he's going to have to get a little hotter, but I do expect them to call him up in September. And he is the number 2 Marlins prospect I'm most excited about. And we're going to talk about the other one here very shortly. I
All
think
right.
he's going to get a
So
call. He's going to get some playing time. So I like Connor Norby a little bit.
So real quick, so that was all the middle infielders that we have so far. Which one's your favorite so far?
Oh, Jacob Wilson, without a doubt.
Yeah, definitely, definitely, definitely. All right.
You want,
So
you want
if
my
you're,
ranking here?
what's that?
You want me to rank them for you real quick?
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
I'm going to go. So we talked about 7. I'm going to go Jacob Wilson 1, Jordan Lawler 2, Connor Norby 3, Brooks Lee 4, Marcelo Meyer 5, Adele Amador 6, and Colson Montgomery. You don't stand a chance.
Yeah, uh, I'm just gonna kind of give you my favorite and my least favorite, which I kind of already did, and so I won't, since I already did, but I kind of agree with you on the Jordan Lawler. I like him as my number 2. I think that he has the most potential, especially in categories leagues. Like I mentioned before, it's going to be tough to see the Diamondbacks call him up this season, in my opinion. But we'll see. You know, the Diamondbacks, like they're without Christian Walker right now. They might need a little spark plug, you know, or maybe they'll just wait for Christian Walker to come back and maybe they'll call up Jordan Lawler too. Maybe both of those guys will be coming up at the same time. That'd be kind of cool to see.
Could be.
All right. So if you're still here with us, before we get to corner infielder, do us a favor and hit that like and subscribe button and scan the QR code above John's head in that right corner and follow all of our social media accounts. So for corner infielders, we only have two options today. The first one is a third base and first base eligible player from the Marlins. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the name. Davison de los Santos, who was recently traded from the Rangers back in May of this year. So go ahead, John. Let's hear what you got to say before I say my piece.
Davison de los Santos was actually part of the AJ Puck trade that sent AJ Puck to the Diamondbacks. I actually thought it was hilarious. I did a trade the day before De Los Santos was traded to Miami. So I actually ended up trading Spencer Schwellenbach straight up for Davison de los Santos. Davison de los Santos, of all the guys we're going to talk about, I think probably has the most potential to make a huge impact. So he's not a top prospect in baseball. There's some guys that just come out of nowhere. I think he was not even in the top 10 for the Diamondbacks this year. But let's talk about it. Between the Diamondbacks and the Marlins this season, he's only hit .318, 33 homers, and 96 RBI, which is borderline video game numbers for any minor leaguer, and he's only 21 years old. So ever since he was traded to the Marlins for Puck, he's played in 15 games, 61 total at bats. He's already hit 5 homers. So this guy's a beast. He's going to get a call up, and this is a guy who he can hit you plenty of homers, and he's been hitting for average, got the RBIs. He's young. They're going to see what they have in him because they traded AJ Puck for him. So he's coming. He'll get you some pop. I like him the most of anyone we're going to talk about this year.
So, I mean, you were basically reading my notes, like almost word for word, man.
Got to be quicker, bro.
Yeah. I mean, hey, that's good, right? Because great minds think alike. So the only thing, I mean, other than kind of like what you said, I'm going to say on this list, if you're looking for power, this is the guy. You know, probably the biggest power hitter that we have on the list today. You mentioned his power before, 33 home runs and 102 games so far. But just like most power hitters comes terrible plate discipline. There is a ton of strikeouts that come with him. 103 strikeouts so far. That's a 25% strikeout rate to go along with his minuscule 29 walks. But the 933 OPS, or sorry, 993 OPS in AAA, honestly, for me, who cares about strikeouts, right? It's like if you have an OPS that's almost hitting 1,000, I don't care if you have 200 strikeouts in the season. Like you're gonna hit me 40 plus home runs and a crap load of doubles. So especially in categories leagues, I'm loving this guy. So if you're looking for power, De Los Santos is definitely the way to go.
He's coming.
Oh, he is coming. All right, our second corner infielder, not to be confused with sandwich toppings. We have third baseman from the Orioles, Kobe Mayo, who was recently called up at the beginning of this month and has been absolutely terrible so far. Small sample size. Mayo has only played in 7 major league games so far, but has been about as productive as Jackson Holliday was in his initial call-up. 1 hit and 17 at-bats, which was a 76 mile per hour base hit after going 0 for 15. And that actually came yesterday. So I don't know, maybe this hit will kind of jumpstart something in Mayo. He actually looked really good in the minors this season. He played 73 of his 77 games in AAA, batted .301 with a .961 OPS, with 20 home runs, 34 walks to 83 strikeouts. So in a categories league, I'm definitely stashing Kobe Mayo, you know, for the chance that he gets hot. In a points league, it's a little harder because I like to save my bench spots for pitchers. But depending on who you have in your corner infield spot, I might take a chance on Mayo. Guys like Nolan Gorman, Justin Turner, Christopher Morel. I think I'm fine dropping any one of those guys for Mayo, whose roster percentage is way higher. All of their roster percentage is way higher than Mayo anyway. And I did see an alert earlier that the Orioles sent down someone to AAA.
Yeah, I was letting you cook there for a little bit. And I'm not going to say this guy is completely done this season. He could get a call up depending on what he does in AAA, but I actually don't expect this guy to come back. And I think it kind of leads to a bigger discussion on Orioles prospects in general. I think, coming into the season, we said, all right, all the Orioles prospects are here, go. And they've been really disappointing this year. I mean, Jackson Holliday's second call up has been a totally different story. But if you talk about, 2024 Jackson Holliday as a whole, I'd say you're probably disappointed,
Yeah, but hopefully he stays hot for those who have the fantasy playoffs coming up. And, hopefully anyone that does have Jackson Holliday rostered is in the playoffs, because I'm sure he's going to boost your lineup just a bit, whether it's categories, points, it doesn't matter. I think the future is very bright for Jackson Holliday, and baseball comes with ups and downs. It's all about cold streaks and hot streaks, as you mentioned with the Phillies that are kind of just like crapping the bed right now. They were super hot beginning of the season, all the way through the All-Star break, and then just kind of like started, slowing down. And lately, they've just been really tough to watch. Same thing with the Dodgers for a while. We lost Yamamoto, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman had his personal issue going on, and Max Muncy's been gone for a majority of the year. So that's been kind of hard for Dodgers fans to watch also. But, it's not just our teams. It's every team in the league has just so many injuries. So, you can't blame the struggles on injuries, because other teams aren't struggling the way that, the Dodgers and the Phillies were. The Phillies had Bryce Harper out for a little while. They had Kyle Schwarber out for a little while. One thing
tore me up when I said it's because the Phillies are better than the Dodgers and took 5 of 6, but no, it was because injuries then. What changed, Will?
I mean, that's basically what it is, dude. Like, Mookie Betts is back now, and man, that dude hasn't skipped a beat, dude. I think he already has 2 home runs since he came back. Tyler Glasnow came back from injury, and Bobby Miller got sent down, thank God, because he was kind of like crapping up the place. And Max Muncy's coming soon. He's been hitting some he's been in some rehab games. Hey, Max Muncy defensively is way better than any other option that we have at third base right now. At third base, the hot corner, you're going to save some runs, when you got some defense right there. Not a Dodgers fan. Thanks for pointing that out.
I got to shit on you a little bit.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see the Dodgers and the Phillies in the National League Championship Series this year.
That'd be awesome. Oh.
I'm going for sure. We're going for sure. I don't care how much those tickets are, man. We're going.
Yeah, there's a baby coming, but we'll see how it plays out.
Stupid baby.
Damn, man.
Babies ruin everything. I got 2 of them, so I know. Listen to me. No, just kidding. Babies are great.
Quick side note, though, going back to Kobe Mayo real quick. I also don't think it helps his chances that the Orioles did just sign Gene Segura, too, for what that's worth.
What? When did that happen?
This week.
Oh, damn. I didn't see that. Gene Segura. I haven't heard that name in a while.
Neither have most people, and kind of came out of the blue.
All right, so 2 options in the outfield position. Let's go with your guy, outfielder from the Yankees, Jason Dominguez. Go ahead and take it, John.
So I love Jason Dominguez, and I think I love Jason Dominguez more than the Yankees do, which I think's been interesting to see play out. So he's not just a top prospect for the Yankees. This guy's a top prospect in all of baseball. Dominguez earned the nickname The Martian because his talents truly are out of this world. 5-tool player. They're calling him the next Mike Trout. And last year in 8 games for the Yankees, he showed us why, as he hit 4 homers, 4 homers in 31 at bats before he got hurt. Needed Tommy John surgery, had to come back kind of in the same Bryce Harper style very quickly. This season, he's hit 286 with 7 homers, 22 RBI since he's been back. And Alex Verdugo has been absolutely trash since the All-Star break specifically. So it's not a matter of if, but when. This really smells like a service time manipulation to me, because if they wait until September 1st, they get to keep him for an extra year. So if this guy gets called up on September 2nd, don't be surprised. If you can wait that long, add him now. If you can't, you can take a gamble to see if he's still available when he does get the call up. But Jason Dominguez should be here already. If not, he's coming. And they call him the Martian for a reason. This is a guy that you can put in your outfield lineup. This is a guy who can make a huge difference, potentially hit 300 for you, give you a few home runs, steal some bases. This guy can win you a championship. So I would add him immediately if you can.
I think we're on opposite sides of the spectrum again on this one, man. So bring it. All right. So Jason Dominguez, all right. So he was part of the September call-ups last season. He slashed 258, 303, 677. That's a 980 OPS for the then 20-year-old. Like you mentioned, 4 home runs in 8 games for Dominguez. That was just insane, man. I remember watching it. And I was just like, who the hell is this guy? Because I never even heard of him before he got called up. But the worst thing that could happen to a player did happen, and you already mentioned it. Jason Dominguez had a UCL tear, had to get Tommy John surgery last September, made his return to the minors in May of this year. He's only played 37 games so far this season, so I'm thinking, we saw Bryce Harper when he came back. He was hitting for average, he was taking his walks, but he wasn't hitting for power yet. It took him a while to finally get into the groove of things, and I don't think he's 100% yet, man. Tommy John surgery, it usually takes about 6 months for recovery for hitters. But even when these guys are supposedly 100% recovered, they don't have the power. They have to find their swing again. And for some guys, it comes naturally. I think Bryce Harper and Shohei Ohtani, guys like that, they didn't take long to get back from their Tommy John surgeries, but they were special cases, man. I love Dominguez for the future, but I don't know how well he's going to bounce back, after this recovery from Tommy John surgery. That is a huge surgery to come back from. And I don't know if the Yankees, the same thing that I was saying about Jordan Lawler, if the Yankees are trying to preserve his health, maybe they call him up, but I really don't expect a lot of power from this guy. Maybe a lot of doubles, because like you said, he does have some speed. And that's definitely going to bolster that lineup for sure. Points leagues, great. RBIs, runs, the whole shebang, except for maybe home runs. I don't know. It is Yankee Stadium, the smallest ballpark in Major League Baseball. So that's definitely going to help him out a little bit. But I'm still not betting on him reaching his full potential in the power department until next season.
That's fair. And, I think you were talking about humans, taking a while to come back from an injury like that. But this dude's a Martian. So
he's a Martian. That's funny. All right. So outfielder from the Nationals, Dylan Cruz. If you need stolen bases, Dylan Cruz is your guy. Honestly, though, I really don't expect anything else from Cruz. In AAA this season, Cruz is batting .261 with an .804 OPS, 7 home runs, and 16 walks to 33 strikeouts. I don't know. What do you got on Cruz?
He's well balanced. I think he's going to be a very, very good baseball player. He could be a superstar. I think he's still a little bit young. 22 years old. He hasn't really shown that he's ready to be a top guy in baseball yet. I think he's still a year, maybe 2 years away. If this guy gets a call up, I'd probably add him and keep him on my bench. I'd rather have a guy like Jackson Chourio right now, in comparison to a Dylan Cruz as a young equivalent outfielder. But, I think you nailed it on the head with the stolen bases, 22 stolen bases this year for AAA. And he is a top prospect. I just think he's just not ready yet. And if he gets a call up, I don't expect huge results yet.
Yeah, he was part of the 2023 draft, so he was just drafted a year ago, right out of college, round 1, number 2 pick overall. So I think you got it, man. I think he's just not ready yet. I think he needs to kind of build up the confidence, because you can be as good as you are in college, but you're not facing major league pitching. Even AA, AAA pitching is going to be miles ahead of these college pitchers who sometimes throw 100 miles an hour, but majority of the league is throwing 100 miles an hour now. So these prospects have a lot to learn, and like you mentioned, I don't think Dylan Cruz is there yet, but I'm going to say by September of next year, then we're going to really be like starting to look at Dylan Cruz.
Yeah, agree.
All right. So next we have catchers. At the catcher position, we have Dylan Dingler from the Tigers. Played 8 games so far in the majors, and surface numbers don't really look too impressive. 208 batting average, 727 OPS, 1 home run, only 5 hits. But this dude hits the ball so freaking hard, man. 92.7 mile per hour average exit velocity, 107.9 max so far. A perfect launch angle, 14.8 degrees. They say that the perfect launch angle is 16 degrees. That's like home run territory. This guy's not far off, man. 14.8, it's great. Which he's been doing all season in AAA. In 71 games in AAA, Dingler posted a 308 batting average with a 938 OPS, 17 home runs, 30 walks to 61 strikeouts. Honestly, this man should be universally rostered. And I don't know if you checked this, but do you know what his roster percentage is? Take a guess if you don't know.
I think I saw like 1.8% in ESPN.
1%, man. Okay, I get it. He plays for Detroit, right? But with those exit velocities, the quality of contact, who cares? I'm thinking if you don't have Adley Rutschman, William Contreras, Will Smith, JT Realmuto, or Yainer Diaz, what are you waiting for? This dude has an expected batting average of 343, an xWOBA of 438, a 12% barrel rate. I could just go on and on about this guy. I think that he is going to be a top catcher in the league very, very soon, and that's going to be for years to come. I kind of compare him to Salvador Perez. It looks like you don't agree.
It's aggressive. It's aggressive. Yeah, I mean, let's see. I mean, this guy can hit 308, 17 homers and 52 RBIs is no joke. Give it time. Let's see. I mean, I think the hesitation for fantasy owners right now is, he's not an everyday player yet. He's probably playing 3 out of 4 days. Most catchers aren't necessarily everyday guys unless they're studs, but I don't know. I personally, so I've been I'm currently on the flip-flop train with our next guy we're about to talk about here in a minute. But I did start my season with Jonah Heim. He has not lived up to what I did last year, so I switched over to Ryan Jeffers, rode that train. He's fizzled out, so added Dylan Dingler. He's been fine. I mean, he gave me the home run. He has a lot of potential. But the next guy we are going to talk about, Adrian Del Castillo. I will be honest, I've been flip-flopping, like I said, between Dingler and Del Castillo. I don't have a true catcher. So Del Castillo is a guy I do like. And if you're right with it, I'm going to hop in to talk more about him.
Yeah, I love both of these guys, actually. I love Del Castillo.
Yeah, I like Del Castillo a little bit more right now, just with Gabriel Moreno sidelined. So he is the leading platoon catcher, left-handed hitting catcher who was mashing in AAA. He was also batting 319, 24 homers, and 70 RBI. And since he's been called up, he is only batting 400, 1 homer, and that's in just 20 at-bats. So, again, take it with a grain of salt. I do like him just slightly better than Dingler. I think like you said, I like Dingler a little bit long-term more, but I think his playing opportunities, that lineup he's in, I think Del Castillo is a better bet for the rest of this season.
Yeah, I agree. Rest of season, I like Del Castillo definitely a lot more in points leagues. With the power potential from Dingler, though, I think I like him a little bit more in categories leagues. It's just the thing that sucks about him is the same thing that sucks with every Detroit player is that they play in Detroit, and even great hitters like Miguel Cabrera. Like, imagine if he played in a different ballpark. Imagine if he played in Milwaukee his whole career or in Philly his whole career. The home run numbers, the doubles, the triples that Miguel Cabrera had in the beginning of his career. It's like I think all that just would have been enhanced so much if he just wasn't playing in Detroit. But going back to Del Castillo, You mentioned the 24 home runs this season, but he also has 36 doubles, 52 walks to 76 strikeouts, and he's on the Diamondbacks, a sneaky good offensive team that is winning baseball games right now. I think the same thing. If you don't love your current catcher, all the guys that I mentioned, if you don't have any one of those, I think Del Castillo is another great option. Both Dingler and Del Castillo are great options.
Yeah, worth taking a shot on if you don't have a guy, like Will said. So
yeah, if you don't have like a top 6 catcher, I'm saying, go ahead and take a chance on one of these guys.
mm-hmm.
And now the moment we've all been waiting for, starting pitchers, because fantasy baseball is, especially points leagues, you are always looking for that next starting pitcher to come up, that next Spencer Strider, that next Paul Skeens, right? I don't know if you want
to. You didn't have to go Paul Skeens, so thanks for that.
I don't know if you want to mention this or not, but let's go ahead and tell the audience that you've been basically begging me for Skeens for the past like 3 months now, ever since ever since his initial call up. And but dude, I can't believe I got him for $10 in our draft, in our salary auction, $260 budget. $10, man, that is so cheap. By the time I'm done with this guy, I think the most I'm going to pay for him is probably like $20.
Shut up.
Thanks for the eye roll. Thanks for the eye roll. All right, so let's see. Now you have this guy, and I tried to get him in a trade from you, but you weren't budging on him. Jackson Jobe from the Tigers, and since he is on your team, why don't you go ahead and take this one?
I love Jackson Jobe. His big issue is just, can he stay on the field? So he's a fun guy to watch. If you haven't watched him on YouTube yet, give him a look. I will say, if you are a pitcher from Texas, you're automatically like 5 points higher in my book. So 2021, number 3 overall pick, number 8 prospect in all of baseball, and that's for a reason. He has not pitched above Double-A yet. So again, grain of salt. But if he is called up, which I wouldn't be surprised just to see, so they can see what they've got in him. But this season he's pitched to a 3-1 record, a 2.01 ERA in 15 starts in Double-A. So that's legit. And again, his problem has been staying healthy here and there, but when he is healthy, he's been dominant. He also owns a 9.5 K per 9. So Jackson Jobe gets called up this year. Awesome. If he doesn't, this guy's going to be a future ace for, Tarek Skubal, a future 1-2 in Detroit.
Imagine that 1-2, man. That's like Max Scherzer and Steven Strasburg a couple years ago when the Nationals won the World Series. So you already mentioned some things that I have in my notes as well. I know you said that one of the things is because he just doesn't know how to stay healthy, but another thing too is he has 30 walks in 62 innings. So I'm thinking maybe they want him to work on his control a little bit also before his call up. But I mean, it's the Tigers, right? So I don't know. Let him get some experience with Tarek Skubal before the season ends. They haven't, like you mentioned, they haven't even moved him up to AAA yet. So we'll see if he actually gets the call or not. But Jackson Jobe is currently the number 1 pitching prospect in all of baseball. So when he does get the call, do not hesitate. Add this man and do it before anyone else has a chance to. If you can afford the roster spot, I would say go ahead and add him now. And if your league has an NA spot where you can stash prospects, I'm pretty sure he's already rostered. But if he's not, do it now. Do it now before it's too late. He will definitely be called up. I'm assuming before fantasy playoffs, or at least by the start of fantasy playoffs. So the thing with him is he's not going to get a lot of run support. So you're probably not going to get the win, but you're going to get a handful of strikeouts. And I mean, he goes deep into games, so he'll probably give you quality starts and all that other good stuff. Hopefully not the loss. That'll give you -3 or 5 points, depending on what your league does. But it's still a positive on the point side anyway.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and Caden Dana from the Angels. My thought on Dana is basically the same as Jobe, with a little less enthusiasm. This man should have been called up already, but still hasn't pitched in AAA yet. In 21 starts in AA, Dana has a 2.74 ERA with 131 strikeouts in 121.1 innings. Great control, only allowed 37 free passes, which is why he has the whip at 0.97, which I love to see. I love what I'm seeing from Caden Dana, as he's definitely on my fantasy radar. And I mean, that's all I really got to say about Caden Dana. You want to add something as well?
Yeah, I just think it's funny. Do you remember when the Angels drafted 20 pitchers with all 20 of their picks in 2021? I was like, all right, Caden Dana was one. At least they hit on one of them. No, they actually missed on every single one of those guys. But they luckily got Caden Dana in 2022. So, again, 7-7 record, 2.74 ERA, and 21 starts this year. I don't know that they'll call him up unless they just want to see what they got. There's really no point because he's only 20. They're not going anywhere this year. But if they just want to just test out the waters just because, maybe. But I wouldn't really bank on Caden Dana doing a whole lot for you heading into the postseason.
Yeah, and the Angels also don't really have the best pitching as it is right now. So it's like, who can he really learn from? You know, there's no one there. So
I do have a note in here, and I thought it was funny. So the only reason I could see potentially them calling up Caden Dana was to sell some more tickets. Fun fact, I don't even know if Ernie knows this, but the Angels' attendance is a lot higher than it was last season when they had Shohei.
Really?
Make it make sense. Trout's hurt. Rendon sucks. No Shohei. And Angels fans are like, you know what? Let's go to the ballpark tonight.
I don't know. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. I got nothing for you.
Their giveaways are sick. So are the Dodgers. But otherwise, I'm like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, I definitely want to visit some more ballparks when they're doing bobblehead giveaways. I love me some bobbleheads, man. As you can see behind me, I have
we got to talk about that Schmidt autograph over your left shoulder there, bud.
Can you see it from here? Yeah. Let's see if I can kind of show that to the camera real quick, if you can get past the glare. Let's see. There we go.
That's pretty dope.
His retirement. That is pretty dope. And I got one more cool thing I want to show you real quick. Here it is. That is, oh, man, the glare.
Oh, there you go.
It's Nolan Ryan's all-time strikeout king signed ball. So you can't really see
the autograph, the glare, but it can't go wrong with Nolan Ryan.
You kind of, there we go. Just a little bit. 1997, bro. 1997.
Very dope. I think we're going to do an episode just on collectibles here soon. We talked about it. So
definitely after the season, we should definitely do that.
I think that's an off-season episode we'll hit on.
Yeah, I got a lot of stuff in my attic that's just sitting, waiting for me to finally get my podcast room in the back and hang some more really cool stuff. I have my Corey Seager autographed World Series frame from 2020. I got a Justin Turner frame that has like a piece of a used ball that was used in the World Series. Pretty cool stuff, man.
That's sick. Did Corey Seager inscribe that Mickey Mouse championship, or what did he?
Shut it.
You're the one that say it.
Yeah. Actually, you're right. I actually don't consider the 2020 World Series to be a real World Series win. I know Carlos and I kind of go back and forth about this, where he says, everyone had the same rules that season, and everyone else played 60 games just like the Dodgers did. And Alana Rizzo from MLB Network actually said the same thing, that of course it's a real championship because all the teams had the same rules and had to deal with the same stuff. But I don't know. Look at the Washington Nationals when they won it in 2018. They were bottom of the barrel by the All-Star break. And then somehow magic happened, and they ended up winning the World Series without Bryce Harper because he ended up jumping ship the year before, and I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of teams out there that they take 60 games just to shake off the rust and get back into form, and I don't think it's fair that a team can be considered the best that season when they only played 80 games total, including the World Series. Like that's half a season. Now, I do agree with Anthony Rizzo that the regular baseball season, 162 games, is just it's a little too much. I definitely agree with that. I think it's too much for anyone to have to go through that on a daily basis. I think MLB needs to spread out days off a little bit more often, and maybe try to figure out different scheduling. Maybe add some more teams to certain divisions or move them around, because it's like the American League West is so spread out, dude. You got the Astros and the Rangers right in the middle of the country, literally in the middle, the southern middle of the country, but they are considered the AL West. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
And then, you have the Pirates, who are just a few hours away from the Phillies, and they're considered the NL Central, while the Phillies are the NL East. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's the same state. We're all the way on the East Coast, man. We could literally be in the water in an hour, in the ocean, in the Atlantic Ocean. And the Pirates are considered the Central. How does that make any sense? Because there's not enough teams in the Central to fill out that division, just like there's not enough teams on the West Coast to fill out that division. But in the next couple of years, Rob Manfred was talking about it, and they've been talking about it for years, that maybe Portland's going to get a team. Maybe Tennessee is going to get a team. So hopefully there will be some expansion teams coming soon, and we'll see another rotation, like when the Astros went from the National League to the American League, or when we got rid of the Expos and added the Washington Nationals, and they changed divisions. So it's going to be exciting to see that in the next couple of years.
All right, you want to have some fun for the last 4-ish minutes of this episode here?
Let's do it.
All right. So, assuming that, let's say, I'll give you Portland. I'll give you Portland and Nashville as the two cities that get expanded. So all of a sudden, baseball has 32 teams. They do an expansion draft, and they get to take 4 guys each from any MLB roster for guys that aren't protected, 40-man. Who are you taking? I'm putting you on the spot.
Like, if I'm the new team, who am I taking?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I mean, that's going to be tough without knowing.
All right,
like,
fine. I'll kill the 40-man. You can take anyone who's not a top 25 baseball player. You can't just take Gunnar Henderson off the Orioles. You can't take Bobby Witt. You can't take Judge.
All right, so let's say you can't take the top 4 from each team. That'll make it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So starting with the National League West, obviously, because I am the Dodgers fan. I'm gonna take. I'm guessing Yamamoto's already like restricted, right? He has to be, because he's their future. But is he though? Because they still have Freeman, Betts, Ohtani. All right, I'm going Yamamoto then, if he's not protected.
Okay. I'll take Jackson Jobe.
All right. So we're doing like a little mini draft here, huh?
Yeah, I'll be Nashville. You can be Portland because you're the West Coast guy anyway.
I am the West Coast guy, and it rains a lot in Portland, so I don't know why they would do that anyway. Maybe they'll build a dome if they do that. They're probably going to have to.
Portland loves baseball, man. You ever see that documentary?
Yeah. Oh, well, I've never seen the documentary, but I know they love their college sports, so why not add a professional baseball team in the mix too?
They have semi-professional teams, and they love it. So
yeah. Trailblazers, right?
That's basketball.
Yeah, I'm just saying professional sports.
Well, they do have a semi-professional baseball team.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Sea Dogs? Is that right?
No, that's Portland, Maine. That's the Red Sox AAA team.
Oh, I didn't realize that was Portland, Maine. I didn't know there was 2 Portlands. I guess that makes sense because every city has a double. Oh man.
Maybe we just go one more guy each, but it could be a whole episode. We could have a lot of fun with that.
Oh yeah, dude. I would definitely have to do more research instead of just being like,
all right, outside of you already picked the arm, pick a bat. Who you stealing?
Pick a bat. I'm stealing Yordan Alvarez.
He's top 4.
You what?
He's top 4 on the Astros.
Is he? All right. Kyle Tucker then.
Next.
Is he top 4 also?
No
He
doubt.
has to be,
Nobody
right?
is a top 4 player for the Astros.
Oh, geez. All right.
You hate this.
You know what? I'm gonna take Royce Lewis. I don't think that they would have him protected because of his injury history, but I love Royce Lewis, dude.
Give me Aiden Miller.
I don't even know who that is, bro.
Write it down. We're going to come back to this episode in 5 years and be like, oh my God, were you right? This guy is the face of baseball. In 2024, you called that?
All right.
Write it down.
All right. Maybe we need to do like a bigger episode with all 4 of us where like maybe me and you can be a team and then Ernie and Carlos can be a team and we do a draft accordingly and we have a list of like players that are untouchable.
That'd be fun.
That'd be fun, man.
Yeah.
Like an off-season episode like that.
Mhm.
Hell yeah. Let's do it. All right, guys. We reached the end of the show. If you haven't already, and if you're still listening to us, please hit that like and subscribe button and scan that QR code in the top right corner. We much appreciate it. And we'll be back next week for some more Real Talk Fantasy Baseball. Peace.